Hey there, I've gotten some questions about how to photograph photos. So this could include a photo that you only have physically that you want to digitize. It could also include how to photograph layouts in a way that makes them look really cool. So I'm going to share a few ideas for that. So the first thing is natural light. So I know that there are people out there that have like studio lights and a whole setup. Honestly, I have not been able to figure out a way to do it that looks as nice as natural light. I keep a couple of white foam core sheets here next to my scrapbook desk, and I photograph all of my layouts and photos on this. You can see here that I have this tabletop on top of my desk, but you can see the difference here. This is far more cream than this, and I really like to have a nice bright white. This one's really beat up. You can see that when I paint my nails, it gets little scuffs of the color, and there's also a lot of like dings in it. So I'm not sure which of these is the better one right now. So here I've got these photos. So I want to digitize all of these photos because I don't have them digitally yet. They're from my childhood, and back in the day, right, we had negatives or just, the standard printing size was pretty small. So the first thing is to have the photos next to natural light. So you can see here I have this window. When you're taking a picture of a picture, you want to make sure that you're lining it up as straight as possible in your camera. So look here, if I turn it a little bit, I don't want to take a photo this way, right? Because this is not going to be straight. This is going to be really hard to crop. So you want to go straight down on it. And one of the ways to tell if you're straight is to line up one of the edges. So I'm lining up the top edges here. And I'm going to tap to make sure that it's as focused as it possibly can be. Sometimes if you have a photo that has a lot of dark in one section, you'll get a lot of glare, and you can either fix that in Photoshop later, or you can just kind of tilt it, and that can sometimes make a big difference. So notice how I'm tilting here and I'm getting glare on certain sections. So sometimes simply the act of just rotating it like this can make a really big difference. So I'm going to go down here, I'm going to line up the top and the middle, and I'm just going to snap. I'm just using an iPhone for this. If you used a higher quality camera, you could sort of ensure that the photo that you're taking of your photo is really good quality, but I have found that for my purposes, my iPhone works fine. So once you crop it, it's going to be the best size that it can be. So I'm actually going to make these bigger than the quality really allows, to maintain the sharpness of the image. So these aren't going to look perfect, and I'm okay with that. I am sharpening it a little bit. If you want to learn more about how to use Photoshop, I do have a class with Big Picture classes that's called Photoshop ABCs, so it goes over some of the basic stuff. And you can see here that I tried to get rid of that cut line from when I had, for some reason, cropped this photo, but I decided that it's actually not worth it and it isn't making it look better, so I just let it go. It's just a little reminder of scrapbooking past. About 10 years ago, I decided that I was going to try to scrapbook my childhood photos, but I didn't have any digital know-how at the time about how to photograph old photos or digitize them or whatever. So I was working with some original photos, which I feel really bad about because these are really precious and I don't like that I did this to them. But you can see here that when I took this off of the scrapbook layout, there are some rub-ons, stickers left here. So what I did was I took a photo of it, and then I brought it into Photoshop, and you can see here I enlarged it. This is a 6x6 version, so you can see how nicely that enlarged. I mean, it's certainly, blurrier than maybe I'd like, but I like that you can see some of the details a little bit better. But what I did was I just used the clone stamp tool. I mean, it's not perfect. The window looks like a little, like there's something on it, but I just used the clone stamp tool to replicate pieces of the window to fill that in there. And then here on the bottom, my dad's hand looks a little, it looks a little deformed there, but that's okay. I don't think that anybody's going to notice, and I'll probably end up actually putting an embellishment or something right there on the final layout. But, so I was able to enlarge this to 6x6. So that's my plan for a lot of these photos because these details are really important. And I don't want to forget them. So what I ended up doing for this layout is just taking a couple of digital elements from the Times story kit from Ali Edwards, and also this little piece here from the Connect story kit. So I had made a few pieces for another layout and had this left over, so I just put it on there. Um, and just did a little bit of journaling about kind of what memory this story prompted. And I feel like now I have a more modern design and much enlarged photo. So I'm really happy with doing this. You know, doing stuff like this doesn't have to be complicated. This is pretty simple. It's just a story and a photo, right? So to me, the most important thing is to have the photo preserved so it doesn't have any of that old adhesive that's kind of bad for it, and then also that it's bigger, and then also that it's digital. So a lot of different positives kind of come out of this. And so for this one, what I did is I took all of those different photos and I put them on a little grid here. They're not much larger actually than the original photos, but again, the perk is that I have them digitally if I need them and want to enlarge them at any point, plus that they just feel safer, right? Having a digital counterpart. I was able to brighten them, sharpen them a little bit, and then these are some elements here that I printed. I'm going to put this together in a layout right now. So this is a pretty simple, grid-based layout design. When in doubt, grid it out is a quote from the great crafty Jen Scow that I heard recently, and I was like, that's my life, because I feel like grids are just so easy, right? I mean, you can just slap together layouts so quickly if you put them in a grid. So I just filled in that little space there with a pattern paper from the morning story kit that I had digitally from Ali Edwards, and then I searched my digital files for some back to school, new day kind of sentiments, and I printed out that card there and then did journaling on the other card, and then I'm putting a puffy sticker and a little stamp down. And then here there's these are puffy stickers from the morning story kit as well. So I liked the way the school looked, but it wasn't popping quite enough, so I took a little black label from Studio Calico and put days so that it says school days. So just tiny little additions, right? This is always the last piece. So it's photos and journaling first, then embellishments like the icing on the cake. Okay, so now I'm finished with this layout and I want to take photos of it. I've got these stickers here that I'm going to kind of style with it. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I live in Ohio, so not great lighting right now from my window. So you can see here this cream doesn't look very good against the layout, so I'm going to grab the foam core. Let's see, that one's too dingy. We'll do the back side here. Okay, so this white is a little bit better, but you can see it's getting kind of blue here. So I'm honestly too lazy to take this to another part of my house. I probably could put this pencil here. It's kind of a good school days type thing, and put that there. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to style it, but you can see this is pretty blue here. So I will fix this later in Photoshop, and I'm going to do my best. I can raise the layout a little bit, which just brings it a little bit closer to the window, but probably a marginal improvement there. It's just going to lay a few things here. So now I've got the photos here in Photoshop, and the main thing that I do in terms of editing is just brighten up the picture, increase the contrast so that the colors punch really well. And then I often will use the dodge tool, which is like a lightening tool, to sort of lighten some of the shadows that are often created when I'm photographing layouts, especially with an object like that washi tape that kind of casts a shadow. I love how my little texts are popping up. That's really funny. Um, so yeah, I mean, a little bit goes a long way. I just find that those little details make a big difference. Be sure to check out my Photoshop ABCs class with big picture classes if you're interested in learning more about Photoshop and how to use some of these tools. So thanks for watching.